Rain poured heavily outside the Grand Orion Hotel. Daniel Hayes, a tired single father of a 7-year-old daughter, rushed through the marble hallway clutching a toolbox. He wasn't supposed to be here. He was just a last-minute replacement maintenance worker called in for an emergency electrical issue. Daniel lived paycheck to paycheck. After losing his wife 3 years ago, his world revolved around his daughter, Lily. Every extra shift meant school fees paid on time, or groceries for the week. He checked the room number scribbled on a sticky note. Penthouse 47A. Luxury suites weren't his usual assignment. He knocked. No answer. He heard faint music inside. Assuming the room was empty and the issue urgent, he used the master key given by management and stepped in. The lights were dim. Soft instrumental music played. And then, he froze. Near the large window overlooking the city skyline stood a woman in the middle of changing out of her business suit. Her back partially turned. Designer clothes draped over a chair. Diamond watch glistening under the chandelier light. Daniel's breath caught. It was her. Evelyn Carter, the billionaire CEO of Carter Global Holdings. The woman whose face appeared on business magazines. The woman people called the Ice Queen of Wall Street. He immediately turned around. "I am so sorry. I knocked. I thought the room was empty. Before he could finish, her calm but powerful voice stopped him. "Don't move." His heart pounded. He kept his eyes firmly shut.
"I'm sorry, Mom."
"I'll leave right now." Silence. Then footsteps approached. "You're the first man in years who didn't try to stare." He swallowed. "I have a daughter, ma'am." That made her pause. When she spoke again, her tone had changed. "Turn around." He hesitated. "I said turn around."
"I'm dressed."
He slowly faced her. She was now fully composed, wrapped in a silk robe, confidence radiating from her posture. She studied him carefully, not the way wealthy people usually looked at staff. Not with arrogance, with curiosity. "What's your name?" "Daniel." "You don't look like someone who belongs in maintenance." He gave a faint smile. "Life doesn't always ask what we look like, ma'am." Something flickered in her eyes. He fixed the loose wiring near the chandelier in silence. She watched him the entire time. "You have a daughter?" she finally asked. "Yes, 7. "And you work night shifts?" "Yes." "Who watches her?" "My neighbor." There was no self-pity in his voice, just responsibility. Evelyn walked toward the window. "Do you know how many men try to get into my life for money?" Daniel didn't answer. "Do you know how many pretend to be respectful?" Still silence. Then she turned. "You didn't look at me. I was raised better." That was the moment something shifted. She had been surrounded by powerful men all her life. Arrogant investors, manipulative executives, charming gold diggers. But this man, he was different. Before he could leave, she said something that would change everything. "Daniel, come back tomorrow. 9 a.m. Ask for me personally." His eyebrows furrowed.
"Mom."
"I need someone trustworthy." "For maintenance?" A slight smile curved her lips.
"No."
"For something much bigger." Daniel barely slept that night. Was this some kind of test? A trap? Or worse, humiliation? Still, he showed up at 9 a.m. sharp. The hotel staff looked confused when he asked for Evelyn Carter directly. But moments later, he was escorted to a private conference suite. She stood there, in a sharp navy business suit, powerful and untouchable once again. "Right on time," she said. "Yes, ma'am." She gestured for him to sit. He didn't. "You don't sit in front of billionaires?" She teased lightly. "I don't sit unless invited properly." She nodded approvingly. Then her expression turned serious. "I need a personal security consultant." Daniel blinked. I'm not qualified for that. I did a background check. His heart skipped. You're former military. He stiffened. How? You left service when your wife got sick. Silence filled the room. I also know you declined 3 high-paying security jobs because they required international travel. He said nothing. You chose your daughter over money. Her voice softened. That's rare. Daniel finally sat down. What exactly are you offering? She leaned forward. I have enemies, corporate rivals, stalkers, people who don't accept a woman running a billion-dollar empire. Her jaw tightened slightly. I don't need another bodyguard who flirts or tries to impress me. I need someone who values responsibility more than opportunity. And why me? Because you walked into a room with one of the most powerful women in the country and acted like a gentleman. The room went quiet. Then she added something unexpected. I trust you. Those words hit harder than any salary offer. What about my daughter? He asked. She'll attend the best private school. Full scholarship. His eyes widened. You'd do that? I invest in assets with long-term value. He almost smiled. And what makes me an asset? She looked directly into his eyes. Integrity. A pause. Then she said the words that truly shocked him. Daniel, I don't just want you as security. He waited. I want you as my partner in rebuilding this company's culture. I'm tired of sharks. I want someone who understands loyalty. His mind raced. This wasn't just a job. It was a doorway into a completely different world. And what happens if I fail? He asked quietly. She stood up, walked toward him, stopping just inches away, but maintaining respectful distance. Then at least I'll know I finally trusted the right kind of man. He took a deep breath. For Lily, for a future he never imagined possible. He extended his hand. I accept. She shook it firmly. Welcome to Carter Global, Mr. Hayes. Outside the window, the storm had stopped. And for the first time in years, Daniel felt like life had just opened the right door. 3 months later. Daniel Hayes no longer carried a toolbox. He carried responsibility. As head of executive protection at Carter Global, he wasn't just guarding a billionaire, he was guarding a vision. And Evelyn Carter was no longer just the Ice Queen. Behind closed doors, he had seen her exhaustion, the pressure, the loneliness of leading a billion-dollar empire. But Daniel never crossed lines, never assumed closeness, never forgot why he was there. For Lily, for integrity, for the second chance life had unexpectedly handed him. The threat. It started with a small anomaly. An email.
Vredzi.
Subject line. You trust the wrong people. Daniel intercepted it before it reached Evelyn. He studied the metadata. Sophisticated masking. Corporate-level hack. This wasn't a random stalker. This was calculated. Within 48 hours, stock rumors began spreading online. False accusations. Allegations of fraud. Media outlets whispering internal scandal. Evelyn stood in her office watching financial news screens light up. They're trying to shake investors, she said calmly. Daniel nodded. This isn't media pressure. It's coordinated. Her jaw tightened. Board members. Possible. She looked at him. Then we don't panic. But he saw it. The tension behind her composure. The gala night. The annual Carter Global Investors Gala was scheduled that weekend. Canceling would signal weakness. Proceeding could be dangerous. Daniel insisted on triple security layers. Guest list re-verified. Staff screened. Private exits secured. Evelyn watched him coordinate everything with quiet precision. You operate like you're still in the military, she said. I operate like failure isn't an option. Her eyes softened slightly. You don't fail, do you? Not when people depend on me. For a second, something unspoken passed between them. Then the ballroom doors opened. Crystal chandeliers, elite investors, politicians, media cameras flashing. Evelyn entered in a deep emerald gown, commanding the room effortlessly. Daniel stayed 3 steps behind, always aware, always scanning. And then, he saw him, Mark Reynolds, former CFO, recently resigned. But Daniel knew better. Reynolds smiled too easily, moved too confidently, and he wasn't on the approved re-entry list. Daniel's instincts screamed. The shocking move. Evelyn began her speech, confidence flawless. But halfway through, the giant LED screen behind her flickered, then changed. Documents appeared. Fake financial reports, forged signatures. Gasps filled the ballroom. Investors began whispering. Reynolds stepped forward dramatically. Care to explain, Evelyn? It was a public execution. Stock sabotage in real time. Daniel's eyes narrowed. He didn't look at the screen. He looked at the control booth. Empty. Too empty. He moved instantly. Ignoring the chaos, he rushed behind the stage. Found a hidden laptop connected to the projection system. Encrypted. Remote-controlled. This wasn't just reputation damage. It was a hostile takeover attempt. He unplugged the system. Screen went black. Ballroom erupted in confusion. Meanwhile, Reynolds smirked. That silence speaks volumes. Daniel returned calmly to Evelyn's side. He leaned slightly toward her. Stall them. 2 minutes. She didn't ask questions. She trusted him. The counterattack. In a side room, Daniel accessed internal servers using credentials Evelyn had authorized weeks ago, just in case. He found the breach, tracked it. Not external. Internal board IP address. 2 board members were in on it. Reynolds was the puppet. Daniel downloaded proof. Email threads. Payment transfers. Bribery. He walked back into the ballroom like nothing had happened. Evelyn was mid-sentence. And transparency has always been our foundation. Daniel handed her a tablet discreetly. She glanced at the screen. Her eyes widened, not in fear. In fury. She turned toward Reynolds. You're right, Mark, she said calmly. The room froze. Let's explain. She tapped the screen. This time, new documents appeared, verified and real. Bank transfers from Reynolds to 2 board members. Messages plotting stock manipulation. Legal evidence. The crowd gasped again, but this time differently. Reynolds' face drained of color. This is fabricated. Daniel stepped forward for the first time publicly. Digital signatures verified. Timestamps authenticated. Authorities already notified. Silence. Security entered the room. Not Daniel's team. Federal investigators. Evelyn had made one silent call when Daniel said, 2 minutes. Reynolds was escorted out in handcuffs. The ballroom shifted from chaos to stunned respect. Evelyn adjusted the microphone. As I was saying, transparency. Applause slowly filled the room, then grew louder, stronger. Investors stood. The attack had failed, and backfired. The private moment. Later that night, long after the media storm calmed, Evelyn stood alone in her office. City lights glowing behind her. Daniel knocked softly. It's secure. She exhaled deeply, then turned toward him. You saved more than my company tonight. He shook his head. You gave me authority to act. She walked closer, not as a CEO, as a woman exhausted by battles. I've built walls my entire life, she said quietly. Tonight I realized something. He waited. I don't feel alone when you're here. The words hung in the air. Dangerous. Honest. He felt it too. But Daniel stepped back respectfully. My job is to protect you, not complicate your life. A faint, almost sad smile touched her lips. Sometimes protection isn't distance, Daniel. Before he could respond, his phone vibrated. It was his neighbor. Lily was sick. High fever. Hospital trip. Daniel's face changed instantly. Evelyn noticed. Go, she said immediately. He hesitated. Now. No authority in her tone. Just care. He rushed out. The final twist. At the hospital, Daniel sat beside Lily's bed, holding her small hand, exhausted, emotionally drained. An hour later, he heard heels approaching down the quiet corridor. He looked up. Evelyn stood there, not in designer heels, not in power suits, simple coat, hair tied back, concern in her eyes. You didn't have to come, he said. She looked at Lily. Yes, she replied softly. I did. And for the first time since that wrong door opened months ago, Daniel realized something shocking. He hadn't entered the wrong room that night. He had walked into the right future. If you want next, I can create,